sometimes you expect people who debate religion and Christianity specifically would know what they're talking about. And here I have in mind Dr. Richard Dawkins, who's been in the conversation between Christians and atheists for a number of years now. I stopped listening to him quite a bit ago because I realized that he frankly didn't know what he was talking about. That's just the truth of it. There are many more well-rounded, well-grounded atheists that you can listen to and learn from rather than Richard Dawkins. He might be a brilliant scientist, but when it comes to theology, when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to philosophy, he is extremely poor in his analysis. How did I know that? Well, very simple stuff. Very, very, very simple stuff. Okay? And here's some evidence towards that. This was a conversation that Richard Dawkins had with Alex O'Connor. Alex O'Connor happens to be one of my favorite atheists on YouTube. I like Alex. I actually listen to Alex. I listen to Alex a lot more than I listen to Richard Dawkins. I'll tell you that. Because I think Alex knows a lot more about the subject than Richard Dawkins. But there's a difference between doing a philosophy of religion and the philosophical argumentations and talking about the Bible than the actual biblical text and stuff that Jesus actually taught and believed. And here's the subject matter here. Okay?
Some of the things Jesus said are very nice, but you have to pick and choose your way through. And setting aside Jesus's emphasis on loving your neighbor, which is very nice, the Sermon on the Mount is very,
I'm glad that Richard Dawkins thinks loving your neighbor is a good thing.
Very nice. The fundamental doctrine of well, the Old Testament, of course, is appalling, but even,
putting the Old Testament aside, in the New Testament,
even the New Testament, the idea that we're born in sin is a hideous idea. The idea
the idea that we're born in sin is a hideous idea. How do you know it's a hideous idea? Number one, like what standard, what criteria do you use to judge that, Mr. Dawkins? The other thing is like you could very well develop an argumentation for why we have those evil kind of desires and the way we function and act from like evolutionary biology. Like you can develop that sort of system is what I'm saying, right?
the only way to be saved from sin and the wages of sin is Jesus' death, is a hideous idea.
Okay, so there's a difference between saying what he's saying, which is an analysis, like the New Testament teaches that your salvation can come or only can come through the death of Jesus, and saying that's a hideous idea is a different issue that I'm going to mention and move on, because he's about to mention something that I think is just plain and simple wrong. And again, I'm doing this because I want to show that people just don't take the time to study and read about the stuff that they're commenting on, even very smart people. And Richard Dawkins is a very smart person.
And I don't think it's one that Jesus himself ever put forward,
okay,
is it?
So now it's a claim. So saying something is a hideous idea is an opinion on a matter, which is fine. You can back that up however. I will have issues with that, but I'm going to put that aside. Saying that I don't think Jesus taught this now is a claim, and you got to back that up. And if you can't back it up, then your entire commentary on the subject is utterly useless and shouldn't be respected by any stretch of the imagination.
Would be rather shocked at that thought.
Well, I imagine that Jesus would have to be aware of himself as the salvation. And if that's the case, he'll need to be aware of what he's saving people from, which can only...
This is a good pushback from Alex, which again, I think Alex is more knowledgeable than Richard Dawkins on the subject. It's like, hey, if Jesus is talking about himself being the salvation, then that presupposes he knows what people need saving from, and that would make sense.
Only be something like slavery to sin.
I wonder whether you're reading something in there. I mean, salvation, he said things like, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. He said that kind of thing. But did he actually say that he was salvation?
Well, I suppose I am the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah, but
no one comes unto the Father except through me. I am
a guide for a good life, something like that. It doesn't mean that he surely never said that my death is necessary in order for you to be saved from sin.
Really? What did he just say? Guys.
No one comes unto the Father except through
I
me.
am a guide for a good life, something like that. It doesn't mean that I'm sure he never said that my death is necessary in order for him to be saved from sin.
Surely he never said that my death is necessary for salvation from sin? I don't know. Maybe it could be the case that Jesus might have had a meal of sorts with his disciples, and he might have said something like, oh, I don't know, this is my body which is broken for you. This is my blood of the new covenant that is shed for your sins. Surely he might have said something like that. And that would be, I don't know, maybe something that all Christians do on a regular basis. You should be aware of that at least.
Quite possibly. I mean, I think about the idea of the Eucharist and the Last Supper and literally break.
So, well done, Alex O'Connor. Very well done. This is the difference. Alex interacts and speaks to Christians. He's respectful. He learns.
Taking up my body for you. It does seem to be some indication that Jesus knew what he was doing if the Christians are correct about his mission on earth. A moment ago you said it's an appalling idea that we're all born in sin. And
so guys, again, when we hear these conversations and we hear people talking about this stuff, I have no problem at all with Richard Dawkins saying, well, that's an appalling idea. Like, being born in sin is so bad. Like, you shouldn't teach people that they're inherently bad. Maybe my response would be, but you believe that people are inherently survivalistic, and so therefore they could be selfish and they could do all sorts of evils based on that for human progression. That's fine. We can have a conversation about that. But when you make a comment like, I don't think Jesus ever taught this, I surely would hope that you've done your research. Like, read the New Testament. That's important. But if you're a person who says, like, the study of theology is completely useless and the study of philosophy is completely useless, I don't expect you to do that because you don't think there's any value in it. This is what's problematic. Look, you can have these opinions and just be completely careless about this subject. That's fine. But if you're an individual who's continuously involved in these conversations and has been, you would surely assume that you've done some research and due diligence because you want to be honest with the information and the facts that have been presented to you. That's all that we can ask. Like, if I, as a Christian, go and look at stuff that atheists produce, people like Richard Dawkins, people like Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens and Daniel Dennett, right? People like Bill Maher. Maybe not as much Bill Maher. Then I would really hope that you guys look at the major documents of Christianity. Consider it. Just this much.